Hello everyone, Tom Grill here for MCP Actions. And today we're going to be looking at my new background skies overlays collection and putting a sky background into a landscape photograph or another photograph. Now just a word about the skies that are in this collection. While some of them are just skies that have been photographed, many of them have been modified. In fact, most of them have been modified. They've been modified to solve some of the problems I know exist when you go to put a sky into another photograph. Sometimes you're doing it, for instance, in this case today, into a light area sky that's already existent. Sometimes you're putting it into an image that has an area in the bottom, as this one does, where you would have a reflection, and that reflection should be picking up the sky color and showing it in the water. And then you have other types where you have, for instance, already a dark sky, and that type of image is very different. Some of them you have where you do not have the water in the foreground and you just want to quickly put in a sky without having to go through a lot of trouble of masking out the background, in this case all these trees and so forth. So today we're going to do that exactly. We're going to take a sky, we're going to put it in this image, but we're not going to have to do any selecting to get rid of the sky that's already here. We're simply going to be able to paint it right in, because this sky was specifically made to be put into an image like this. So let's go right up here to File, and under File we go to Place Embedded. Placing embedded means that you grab an image and place it on top of an image that you already have open in Photoshop. Alright, and we're going to go to the right over here to the folder where I keep my skies, and we're going to go down. I'm going to be using sky number 044, which says multiply after it, and we're just going to have to click on that, hit the word place, and it will come right in. Now because it said the word multiply, that means that we're going to be changing the rendering mode of that layer to multiply. Right now what we want to do, however, is kind of get the a general placement of this image. You will notice that this image is actually a square. It wasn't a square originally. What we've done here is added a lot of area in the bottom here that's very, very neutral and carries forth the tone of the image into the bottom. I'm going to diminish this a little bit. I'm going to hit Control T, which would be Command T on a Mac, and holding down the Shift key, I'm going to proportionately enlarge this to fit. Okay, I'm probably going to go a little bit more than that. That's good. That's good for now, because we can't see the image underneath. To see the image underneath, all we have to do is change the mode from normal to multiply, which is what was indicated at the end of the file name. Changing it to mode, and that immediately allows the two images to be seen together. Now what I'm going to do is manipulate it to where I want it to be, which would be something like that. I'll Control Command T to, and now I'm not going to be doing this proportionally. You'll notice I'm just moving it and getting it, in a position where I just think it might look good. All right, you'll notice I elongated it a little bit, maybe a little bit more. That's almost looking good. Take a little bit down on the top there so we can pick up that one cloud right there. That's looking pretty good. Alright, we'll double click that for now. Remember, we can always go back and change it. Now you'll notice what this has done is, because there was a lot of tone in the bottom, we put tone over that bottom. Watch, I'll click it off and you'll see that it's white, but as it comes in now, all the tone carries forth into the landscape image. One of the problems with the multiply mode is that it generally darkens an image overall and needs to be lightened. There are a couple ways of doing that, and we're going to use probably two. Right now what I'm going to do is take the opacity of that sky down a little bit, because I think it's too dark to begin with. I generally like when I'm putting in a sky, I like for that sky to be a little lighter. We'll take it down now to about 80 or so. Okay, 82 is fine. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add a curves layer, but I'm doing it just above the sky, and I'm clicking this little white thing, a little white box down at the bottom with the down arrow on it, and that means that this curves layer will only apply to the sky. And what I'm going to do with that curves layer is I'm going to just brighten up the sky a little bit on this end of the curve, and I'm going to take it down a little bit on this end of the curve. There we go, about 721 on that one, and this will be, there we go, maybe a little less, right about there. Okay, so that's looking pretty good so far. Now, one other thing I don't like here is how dark, it is right here by these trees on both sides, and also right where the sunset is. Normally that would be a very, very bright area. That's easy to correct. We go right to the sky layer, and we add a layer mask. And we go over here and get ourselves a dark brush, a very soft brush, and I'm using an opacity of 19. I like to use a very low, in fact I might even take it down a little bit more than that, a very low opacity here. And what I'm going to do is simply paint out that area that I want to go lighter, like that, especially over here where the sun is, because that would be, generally would be blasting out all by itself, just like that. Now I've also accidentally took out a lot of the grass when I did that. I darkened that, so I'm going to bring that back in with a white brush. Just white brush that right back in. Okay? So, all right, this is already starting to look pretty good. What I'm now going to do is go down to the background layer, and I'm just going to add a curve to it. And in this curve, I want to darken that because it is a sunset, and I want to darken it down just a little bit. Probably good like that. All right. Now, one of the things about combining two photographs or more photographs together is that they often have their own kind of underlying tone. In order to make them harmonize better, I often add a tone. I have some of my own, but in this case, all I'm going to do is go to the very top layer here, and I'm going to add an adjustment layer of a photo filter. And in this case, I'm going to use the standard one that comes up, which is the Warming Filter 85. And I'm going to crank that up to about, let's say right about here, which is around 50. All right, that's without it, that's with it, and you'll see that that's just starting to makes the sky a little yellow and the bottom a little of the same yellow, and it makes the whole thing just a little smoother. This water down here I think is a little too bright, so what we're going to do is go down to the bottom, add maybe just a levels adjustment layer, and we'll darken that. We can see it's already probably a little too dark. We'll just darken it down like that. But because we don't want to affect everything in the photograph, what we're going to do is I'm holding down the Control or key and I'm hitting the Delete key, and that filled that levels layer with black. So now with a white, soft white brush, what I'm going to do is come in there and just paint a little bit of darkness into that area. I'm going to do some maybe here, also in the grass, back down here in the bottom. Now let's take a look at what we're doing. There it is. There, just a little bit of darkness added. A little too much here, so we'll take some of it out of that grass. Okay, I might even put just a tad into the grass back here, which is kind of normal. And that is it. So you see how easy that was to do. And that is because this particular sky was made to easily drop over another image that had a white area or a bright area, and in multiply mode just combine with it naturally. And then just using a very, very soft brush. A soft brush is important because you want to feather off all the edges smoothly and keep the brush with a very low opacity. And that's it. That's all there is to it. And we've now finished that photograph, and we'll move on to another one very shortly. Let's just what I'm going to do is just group this whole set here of images and make them, there we go, into a group so I can click them on and off. That's how we started, and that's how we ended up. Actually, this is just still a little bit too, not enough white coming through, so what I'm going to do is maybe just take a little smidge more of that out, like that. And we'll look at that again. And you'll notice once I grouped that whole thing together, I was able to deal with it all as one unit when I added another layer mask to it. And that's it, just like that. There we go. Before, after, putting in a sky. Very simple with this set of background overlays. Thank you, and we'll be moving on now to another project. All right. What I'd like to do now is move on to another similar image, but one that will use a slightly different type of sky. These skies are what I call fade skies, and they have been created with a bottom that doesn't exist, that say has been removed or actually fades off into a pure white. And these also have been made to drop in on top of another image, not behind it, although they could go behind them. In this case, we have a very light sky, but you'll notice in this instance, as opposed to the one we just did, there is some tone in the sky already. There's a nice yellow tone down on the horizon, there's a little bit of blue up on top, some pink, and there's already some color in the water. To prep this image, what I'm going to do is eliminate some of this foreground here because I think it's too much in the rocky areas. And the way I'm going to do that is double click the background layer over here, and I get this little new layer box that comes up. All I have to do is accept it by saying OK, and that frees this layer up to be moved around. I'm going to move it down, holding the shift key down so that it can't go left or right, but it can go up and down, and I'm just going to reposition it to about, we'll say right there. This repositions the horizon line more into a composition that would be following the rule of thirds. All right, so let's go get ourselves a photograph to put over this sky. We'll go up into File, Place Embedded, and in this case I think I'm going to put this rainbow there. It says Rainbow 2 Fade. It says fade after it because, as you'll see right here, when it comes in, it does not have a bottom. The bottom has been faded out into nothing. It's the photograph that I'm placing over just a little too small, so I'm just going to manipulate it like that. It looks pretty good. Double click it to accept it. Now the fade, of course, is a little too foggy over here, but that's fine. All I have to do is put a layer mask on it. Go get myself a very soft brush with a black paint. The soft brush, when I say soft, I mean 0% hardness. And the opacity in this case is, we'll say 15 thereabouts, very low. And I am just going to paint over with black this area in here. Now, because remember that sky had some color in it, the real sky of the landscape, I can paint some of that in. I'm leaving the rainbow itself kind of alone, but I'm painting in a bit of the color from the sky to harmonize it, these two photographs together. These are very easy photographs to put together. As you can see, I'm almost finished. All right, that is actually so far pretty good. What I'm now going to do is, as I did on the other one, I'm going to want these two photographs to meld their colors a little bit better, so I'll go up to Adjustments, get myself a photo filter. I'll probably use the same one I used before, which is the warm one, because they have warm tones in this photograph, and I'll crank it up to about 50, about halfway up there. Okay, and that gives me a tonality over everything. It may be a little too much in the sky, so in order to take it out of the sky, what I'm going to do is go over here to grab this gradient filter, and holding the shift key down, go like that. And what that did was it eliminated, you'll notice it put a grad over that mask, a gradated mask. so that the sky doesn't have too much of the tone, but the rest of the photograph, the tone starts here about midway and drifts down to the bottom of the photograph. In addition to what I just did, I am going to add a curves layer on top of everything. And this will be just a slight S-curve, a little bit of white into it, not too much, but we're going to bring that dark area, the darks down quite a bit into there. All right. And by the way, curves you'll find usually enhances color. It intensifies color more. So it's also doing that. You'll notice these yellows are getting a little more yellow. See it? The colors. It's not just a matter of contrast. It's also a matter of increasing the saturation in the colors. That looks pretty good, and that is pretty much it. And you'll notice that one only took us a few minutes. And that's what it is when you're working with something that's been made to be dropped in over another image. All right? That's it for this one, and we'll be moving on. Later on, I'll be doing some tutorials on different types of skies that we have in this package and how to put them into photographs where we need to mask off the foreground areas. All right, thank you very much. Again, Tom here for MCP Actions. Hope you enjoyed it, and check out this background skies overlays package on MCP Actions. Thank you.